journalist Malachy Clerkin and Dublin hurler Shane Ryan. Malachy, let me come to you first, because again there's confusion about umpiring decisions in O'Moore Park,
yes.
Portlaoise last Sunday, and even today Wexford players are still unhappy, aren't they?
Well, I'd say they'll be unhappy far longer than just today. I mean, I think they'll store it up over the winter. I think they'll be talking about it when they're doing their laps in January. Yeah, look, I mean, it's funny, I was in this show 8 weeks ago and we were talking about Hawkeye then, and we were talking about, it was funny, it was Alan McCrabb's point that went like 2 feet wide and was waved over as a point. It's been a theme of the summer, and it's not a media invention. Like, you know, it is, I almost think that this summer might be a tipping point. I almost think that it has happened too often, and it's not just the Sunday game picking it out. It's not just people in the papers writing about it for the rest of the week. There are serious issues happening. You know, even the other point in that Limerick-Wexford game where the umpire waved it wide twice and then lifted the flag. I don't think I've ever seen that before. You know,
yeah.
And that's you know, it's not going away, and maybe this winter is a time that, you know, they find some practical way of taking this issue away and we'll obviously find something else to give out about, but but it's kind of farcical at this point, really.
It's obviously time for action. Mick, as Malachy said, we've discussed Hawkeye in this programme in the past, but from your perspective, how would you avoid scenes like what we saw in Portlaoise at the weekend?
Well, I suppose there'll be always occasions that will happen from time to time. But the only thing they can do at the present time, the way things are going, is to raise the goalposts on both sides and put another net at the back. Then the players will have to hit the ball right into the back, into the net, and it'll be gilt-edged in. It's either a point or it isn't. So that's the one way to get rid of it. But generally, overall, I think if you had the Hawkeye, I think it's something that must be used in the future. No doubt about that. It's very, very important.
Or the video referee?
The video referee, which I think would be very important.
What's your thoughts, Shane, on this?
Yeah, I think I totally agree there. You know, if there's something there that can take away some of the uncertainty, and I suppose like the heartache for Wexford, you know, if there's something that can take away that and just make it a bit more definite of what's a point and what's not, it should be used. You know, I remember hearing a story from years ago. I mean, Oldham Committe it might have even been, and they had a second crossbar on the top of the post, you know.
Yeah,
so it had to be under that and over the other one to make sure a point. Probably not feasible for these days, but you know.
You never know, that could be where we're heading.
They hit the ball pretty high at the present time, I can assure you. But then again, with a hurling ball, it's pretty hard to detect, as you know yourself.
Even if you had a video ref, it can be. You see the replays over and over again, the Sunday game, and, you know, afterwards, you still can't tell. You can't tell with that one there, you know.
Yeah, so a video referee wouldn't have solved that.
No.
You know, the ball disappears from view just with the skyline for a second or two.
But surely that comes back to Croke Park fixing games at venues where there would be multiplicity of cameras available.
There was one camera there, you know, so that wouldn't help really.
Shane, let me talk to you about Dublin hurling, because congratulations on a wonderful performance last Sunday, and indeed scoring the point as well. In the overall perspective, was last Sunday's win the most important of the year?
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view, you know, I suppose at this stage of the year, every game is the most important game of the year, you know. But when you think about how long it's been since Dublin got to this stage, you know, it's the significance it is for the county is huge. I mean, we've had underage success over the last few years. From the minors started a number of years ago. Under 21s have had good success in Leinster, but it hasn't manifested itself in senior yet. And I suppose finally, you know, it might seem like it's out of the blue this year for us, but the team is such a young team, and they're all used to beating in underage, you know, like Kilkenny, Offaly, Wexford, you know, and now it's happening at senior level, and I suppose you need to see that kind of success coming through from fellas that have done it at minor or 21 for the hurling to progress in the county, and so it's really important.
You're unique because, of course, you were part of the Dublin senior football panel for so long. What's the difference from being part of both panels?
How do you mean?
In the sense of the media hype, the kind of like when Dublin play in Croke Park, there's the hill. Now the hurlers seem to be getting it as well.
Well, there's definitely garnering a lot more support now after having a bit of success with the league this year. But I suppose it still has a way to go to get to the level of support that the footballers have. I mean, everyone knows that the crowd multiplies come the summer, you know, on a hot summer's day, and you have the hill full, you know. So from that point of view, like there's a huge difference on match day, build up to matches. A lot more people would probably know who we are in football, not just because you're all wearing helmets in hurling.
It's very hard to know players anyway with the helmets now.
Exactly, yeah. But you know, more people would probably watch the game. But I think that's changing now. You know, it's like the better the hurlers do, success breeds more success, and they'll get more support for us.
Well, you're going to get a lot of support and a lot of coverage from now on. Now, the role of the GA manager, as Mick knows, is much hyped and analysed these days. But former Cork hurling manager John Allen wonders if we ever see the real man behind the mask.
Eleanor Rigby waits at the window wearing a face she keeps in a jar by the door, sang the Beatles. I wonder, did Eleanor ever have a go at inter-county management? I did, once. The modern-day inter-county managers have to generate and wear many faces. We all at this stage know the public faces of the well-known managers, the stoicism of Mickey Hart, the roguery of Mick O'Dwyer, the intensity of Davy Fitzgerald. Certainly, there are many sides to these modern-day Machiavellis. But it's on match day that the manager displays, like the peacock's tail in full flourish, the full extent of his assortment of facades. It's there that he'll get into full flight as he runs through the tactics. Then the reasons why today is the day, it's now or never, it's time to stand up and be counted, and that this one is for yourself, your family and your county. The game face has to be replaced with the intelligent, I'm not easily fazed kind of poker face as he patrols the line. We might see the vigorous pointing finger and the animated, are you stupid grimace as he tries to get his point across amid the din in the stadium. Full time, and the next face is result dependent. Win, and it's the humble but secretly delighted look. Or the, my smile says it all look. Or the, job well done, but more to do face. Lose badly, and it's the dejected or humble look. But inside, he's eaten up by being beaten by them again. Next stop, the opposition dressing room. Hurling was the winner, he articulates, as he congratulates the victors. But inside, his conscience is at him for being able to utter such words. But his face is his friend and doesn't betray him. Or it could be, I'll tell them how great they are. But there has to be a winner, and today was our day. But it has to be said with humility and a face to match. He's not finished yet. The press has to be faced. A suitable face is donned as he fields questions. But it's not until he reaches the refuge of his home that the face goes back into the jar and he can be himself again.
The one and only John Allen there. Mick, what's your favourite face?
Well, I generally like to have a smile at all times anyway. I mean, there's no point in me down that much. I mean, you win some and you lose some. And law of averages, I think you lose more than you generally win. I suppose I was very lucky with the team that I had in the 70s and 80s. We won a lot more than we lost with those guys. But generally overall, I mean, every manager has a different way to go about his work. There's no doubt about that. I mean, McGeaney there, if you look at him, he's very serious about his game. And I can assure you he's doing a wonderful job with Kildare at the present time. And then you have Mickey Hart, who stands on the sideline, hardly moves at all. In my younger days, I was in and out of the pitch and what have you. I remember Con Holohan at one stage writing in the evening press one time and said that I spent more time on the pitch than I did on the sideline at that period. And of course, when I was in the pitch, I was talking to the referee and talking to the opposing players and what have you. That was part of my game. But now, of course, with a bad ankle at the present time, I can't enter too often, so I must take it a bit easier. Yeah, so they tell me that I'm a bit of a rogue, but I don't know. But I think there's a little bit of roguery in everybody in this country, and I think with Kerry people, I think there's a lot more of that. But then you have Jack O'Connor, who's another man. He really gets into the game as well, and you know he's doing a great job with Kerry's, you know. But we've different managers have different ways about running teams and what have you, and I suppose it has changed quite a lot from the time that I took over in Kerry. In my time in Kerry, you just had 5 selectors, and I was just part of the selection committee, and there was no such thing as psychologist or physiotherapists, or all these guys.
Yeah.
We hadn't too many of them around at that time.
I think
But
you were
it
the
has changed.
psychologist, I think you were the one.
But I'm still, to this day, I still train, manage and coach all the time. So I stay with that as long as I'm around, I can assure you. But somebody said to me the other day, maybe if you brought in a trainer now, it might be a good idea. That's what I'm thinking about at the present time. But I must get the ankle done first.
Malachy, is the role of the manager overplayed? Is it overemphasised?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you look at any of the teams, the good teams, they take their lead from the manager. I mean, I don't think you only need to look at McGeaney. McGeaney's a good example. You know, you only need to look at where Kildare were when he took them over and where they are now. And if ever a team was a real manifestation of their manager's principles and virtues, that's what they are. I mean, they're a seriously hard-working team. You know, all action, they empty themselves on the pitch and then they come off and send the next guy on.
There's so much a manager can do at the end of the day.
Sure.
It's 15 players on the pitch. It's up to them to
But
do
a manager has to set the tone, wouldn't
Well,
you
exactly,
agree?
I agree
You know,
with you there, yeah.
They have to, you know, send a vibe through the squad. And, you know, it gets overstated sometimes, but mostly, you know, they're a reflection of
what's
the
going on.
man, you know.
Shane, as a player, how important is the manager?
Well, as Matthew said, you know, he sets the tone, which, you know, obviously the manager leads the squad from that point of view, and you know, you might have a strong character as a captain or an experienced player that could do the same job, but ultimately everyone looks to the manager, you know, and you know, when you have Kildare playing, I suppose the same type of game Kieran McGean would have played, which, you know, it's a strong, tough game, whatever. I suppose if you look at maybe what I can remember best, well, the hurlers this year, you know, can't think of any other examples at the moment. Like, you know, Dublin are playing with a lot of passion. That comes from Anthony Daly. This is the passion he brings to the game, you know, and he sets that tone for us every time we turn up at a session, and that's how everyone wants to express themselves.
And Shane, what do you expect from a manager? I mean, should he be distant or should he be one of the boys?
Well, I'm sure most managers would probably want to get a balance between the two. You can't be too distant. I think you should be a little bit approachable, but then again, you're not one of the lads. Like, you know, you can have a bit of crack there, all right, but I suppose there has to be a line somewhere you have to draw. You know, I mean, there's going to be enough probably crack and messing between players themselves. You know, you have to stop this.
Did you play under Kevin Heffernan?
No, I'm not that old now, Mick.
Who was the best ever manager, do you think, Mick?
But sure, that's a very hard question to ask. I think a manager is as good as the players he has got. But I would say at the present time, Jack O'Connor is doing a great job with Kerry. Mickey Hart is doing a wonderful job with Tyrone over the years, and Joe Kerlin did a great job. And it would be very hard to say who was the greatest. It all depends on the players you have at a given time. And I was very lucky that I had one of the best panel of players, I suppose, that ever played the game. So that really established me as a manager. And when you get the name then, they'll all want to have you then, as you know.
The players do make it. Like, I mean, not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to, and I won't name him or name the county, but he was a manager who had just had a hard year with his county. And he told me a story that after a league game or before a league game, he was talking to the lads after a session, and the session had gone really badly. You know, drop balls everywhere. You know, misplaced passes, all of this. And they sat down to talk about the league game that was coming up, and one of the lads said, "So what strategy are we playing? Are we dropping a man back? Is that where we're going?" And he was going, "Lads, how about we kick the ball? How about we catch the ball, we kick the ball, and we work on that? And you know, I'll come up with a strategy, but you learn how to kick the ball." And the point is right. I mean, the best manager in the world isn't going to change players who aren't
but I
up to
can
it.
help all right.
Yeah.
Billy Morgan went to All Irelands with Cork. There's no doubt he was instrumental in winning both of those.
Yeah.
He was a very passionate manager. I think it's very important.
Let me talk about you now just for a moment, because you are finished with Wicklow. So what next for Mick O'Dwyer?
God only knows. The first thing I must do now, Marty, is to get that ankle that I have right, and then you never know where I'd appear. So we'll only have to wait and see, Marty. Everything depends on the ankle at the present time.
Okay, let's imagine the ankle is fixed, and let's just say Galway came knocking on your door. Would you be interested in going to Galway?
No, I haven't given a thought to any team at the present time, to be honest. And I don't believe Galway will come. I think they have O'Flaherty there, and I think he's doing a reasonably good job, and I think he'll continue. So, Galway, I don't think so at the moment anyway.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised where you end up, Mick O'Dwyer. You're not gone from football yet. Now, this weekend.
But that's for sure.
Now, this weekend in the Football Championship, there are 3 quarter-finals and 1 fourth-round qualifier. 8 managers will put their reputations on the line, but only 4 can survive.
And Joe McMahon plants it in the back of the arc.
Yes, indeed, a great weekend in prospect. Malachy, if I can start with Tyrone and Roscommon. Tyrone seem to have come to this stage without anybody really taking too much notice. Are they real contenders?
Yeah, they are, yeah. You know, they're real contenders for a couple of reasons. One, teams like Roscommon are going to be intimidated by them, you know. The teams that haven't won All-Irelands are going to look at them, and whether it's true or not, they're going to be a little, scared is the wrong word, but they're going to be wary of a team with Stephen O'Neill in it when he comes back from injury, and a team with Brian McGuigan playing the way he's playing. They've got here the right way, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody's taken any notice of them, and they put in 2 great performances the last 2 weekends, and he's flushed the youth in. And, you know, Peter Hart's playing lovely stuff. Brian McGuigan's playing lovely stuff. Sean Kavanagh's playing excellent stuff.
There's a nice mixture, isn't there?
Back out around the middle of the field as well. Yeah, you know, I mean, I know everybody's going to say that they're going to beat Roscommon, and I'm going to be one of them. But nobody would want to play them, you know. Will Dublin really want to play them? Like, you know, with 3 fellas there with 3 All-Ireland medals, and the Dublin lads with no All-Ireland medals.
You're cueing my next question straight to Shane. Dublin, your former teammates, they wouldn't particularly like this draw, would they?
I wouldn't say that now, because, you know, Dublin haven't beaten Tyrone last year. You know, I suppose they got a monkey off the backs there. I mean, when I was involved, we never managed to beat them. They were just always had one over on us, you know, the whole time. And when Dublin managed to do that last year, it'll give them the extra bit of confidence. And, you know, Dublin are also, I don't think anyone would fancy meeting, because they're going to be very hard to beat as well. And, you know, providing Tyrone come through the Roscommon match, you know, I still fancy Dublin to beat them.
Okay. Let me ask Mick about Kildare and Donegal, because there's a lot made of Jim McGuinness and the work he's doing with Donegal, but the blanket defence. If you were Kildare manager, how would you combat the blanket defence of Donegal?
It'd be pretty hard, I can assure you, because he generally has about 13, 14 players back behind the ball. But I can assure you, McGuinness played quite a bit of that style as well when he played for Armagh, so I don't think he'll have much problem in getting over that. I think he's a big man now playing full forward, Connor, and the direct ball straight into him, I think, will overcome quite a lot of that. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think this is going to be the game of the championship, to be honest, since it's the one that people will find it very hard to predict who's going to win it. I think McGuinness has done a wonderful job with Donegal. I think he's brought a bit of discipline into that team, I think, which was the one thing that was lacking over the years. They're going well at the present time, but I think McGuinness will have his plans well laid out, I think. And
do you think Kildare will win?
I think I fancy Kildare to win.
What about you, Shane?
Well, I'd say the same, as in I think it'll be a very close game, you know, 2 very hard working, hard tackling teams, but I'd fancy Kildare just to nudge it at the end.
One word for you, Malachy.
Yeah, one word. I think Kildare, but I think the one thing the one thing about Donegal that I find interesting, people were giving out to McGuinness at the start of the year, they've definitely evolved. Michael Murphy's playing a lot closer to goal than he was, say, in the Cavan game, in the Antrim game. Colin McFadden's up there as well. I think it'll be low scoring. I think you could be talking 1-8 to 9 points, but I think Kildare will come out.
Okay, we'll all be going to the bookies now with that scoreline, thanks to you. Mick, would Kerry have preferred a tougher challenge than Limerick?
No, I think they've got an ideal draw, to be very honest. They can ease themselves into the semi-final here. You know, they beat them well in the first round of the championship, and I think they'll win again the next day. You know, Kerry played wonderful football against Cork in the first half. They didn't do too well in the second half against Cork, but they have a nice team, and, you know, some of the young fellas they're bringing in are starting to play. Fancy Kerry, I think, to win there and go on.
Cork and Mayo, All-Ireland champions against Connacht champions. Are Cork vulnerable, considering all the injuries?
Well, you've that many injuries, you're always going to be a bit vulnerable, but I think Cork had a similar amount of injuries when they came to the league final, and they got over Dublin there, and they've such a strong squad. They've got the confidence and experience of winning the All-Ireland. You know, they're the champions. I still think Cork will do it.
Would Kerry fancy Cork in the All-Ireland semi-final?
I'd say they'd be looking forward to that, you know. We Kerry people love playing Cork, you know, and especially in Croke Park. So, but someday it's going to happen. Cork will win in Croke Park. But you know, Cork have been hit with bad injuries at the present time. They have lost 3 great forwards at the present time. So it's going to be hard for them to overcome that. Even though they gave an exhibition the last day against Down, but that will be a great game. I think it looks like a Kerry Cork semi-final again. And of course, with the green and gold, just about pulling out.
I knew you'd add that on. Malachy, and there are 9 teams left in the championship.
Yes.
6 are probably serious contenders. Is this the most open championship we've had for quite some time?
I wouldn't put it at 6. I think in that 6 you have teams that are very hard to beat, but are they going to win the All Ireland? I'm not sure Kildare or Donegal are going to win the All Ireland. I would say you have 4, maybe Tyrone and Dublin, but I can't see past Cork, even with the injuries. I have to say, I think their performance last Saturday, I thought was the performance you've been waiting on them for a couple of years. Well, maybe the league final they were incredibly patient and professional in that, and I think they're hitting that groove again. I think they win so much ball around the middle of the field. I can't really see past them. I think they would beat.
You reckon Cork will win the All Ireland?
I do so. Yeah.
Mick, would you the body language actually says it all.
Scared me to my boots. Mick O'Dwyer going, do you really think Cork will?
He's from Monaghan, Mick. Mick, in terms of
could be right.
The Open Championship, is it an Open Championship, do you think, or are the numbers I've said like 6 too much?
How could it be open, to be very honest, when you have 5 teams in Connacht, 6 in Munster, you have 12 in Leinster, and you have 9 in Ulster? I mean, the day is going to come that you'll have to do something, change the structures of the provinces and put an even amount of teams into each province. And then you won't have teams waiting for games as the championship go on. So I think that...
So you'd do away with the provincial system, would you?
I certainly would. I'd have an open championship, and I think that's the way to run it. Be the right way to run it. And you'd have a great championship. Wouldn't it be great to have Kerry going to Fermanagh to play Fermanagh in the first round? I think it should be great.
Shane, do you think this is an open championship? More open than in previous years?
I mean, it is.
Well, with the backdoor system, I suppose it is, yeah.
Yeah, it has been over the last number of years. I mean, I suppose the traditional Kerry, you know, we're always going to be up there. Cork are now up there since the last couple of years. Tyrone have done it in the last 10 years. But added to that, you know, Dublin have come very strong last year and this year. And the improvements over Kildare over the last few years. And as Malachy said there, you know, there's a number of teams there are very hard to beat. But that can get you very far in the championship, you know. I mean, anything can happen on the day if a team gets to a semi-final now and gets over the line.
It's worked out well for Dublin. I said kind of at the start of the summer that Dublin could win it if they didn't have to beat both Kerry and Cork. And now they're only going to have to beat one of them if they get through Tyrone. And so that could work in their way. But.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have a system this year now where Kerry will have played Limerick twice and Cork twice, and they're in an All-Ireland final.
Okay, we're going to move on. Of course, you can see highlights of all these games of the weekend with Des Cahill on the Sunday game at 9:30. That's it for this week. Thanks to our guests, Mick O'Dwyer, Shane Ryan and Malachy Clerkin. We will see you again next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. For now, from all of us in the committee room, have a very good evening.
All our